This Saturday is UFC 304, Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 2, and this is going to be my full card predictions, and I cannot wait for this card. Co-main event, Tom Aspinall, Curtis Blaydes. You have Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green on this card. You have Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev on this card. You have Manel Kape versus Muhammad Mokaev on this card. This is an excellent fight card. I cannot wait for it. We're going to go through every single fight on the card, and I'm going to give you a quick breakdown and prediction. Do me a favor, if you guys enjoyed these full card prediction videos, make sure to like the video, make sure to share the video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll be live streaming UFC 304 in its entirety if you care to join me for a watch along. Starting off with the first fight of the night, we have Modestas Bukauskas versus Marcin Prachnio. Look, this is a matchup of low-level light heavyweights, but I'm looking at Marcin Prachnio, and he's super kick-heavy, he's super hittable, he has decent movement, but he slows down in the fights. And then you have Modestas Bukauskas, decent movement, I think he's a little bit better kickboxer overall, better with the hands in particular. And I just think that Bukauskas gets it done here. I'm going to pick him over Prachnio. You look at Prachnio's record. I mean, he's having a competitive fight with Devin Clark. Devin Clark tagged him on the feet multiple times. Now, ultimately, Prachnio won that fight, but I think Bukauskas is way better than Devin Clark. The fight before that got finished by Vitor Petrino. Okay, that's a fight they have in common. They both got finished by Petrino. Before that, beat William Knight. Means absolutely nothing. Before that, lost to Felipe Lins. Not a horrible loss. But look, they both have decent movement. Prachnio, more hittable in my opinion. And Bukauskas doesn't have the best defensive wrestling, but it's not horrible. You know, he was defending takedowns against Zach Paunga, who's a big light heavyweight. He lost to Vitor Petrino, fair enough. Had a competitive fight. Got clipped in the second round, got KO'd, fair enough. But I think Bukauskas is just a different level than Marcin Prachnio, and also he's 6 years younger. So I'm going with the younger guy who has a 4-inch reach advantage in Modestas Bukauskas. I don't think Prachnio has the wrestling or grappling to exploit the hole in Bukauskas' game. And you're looking at like previous losses for Bukauskas. He's losing to a guy like Khalil Roundtree, who's oblique kicking his knee into another universe. So I think Prachnio will come out and look decent early. He'll chop the legs. He's very kick heavy, but he's too hittable. I think Bukauskas has the better hands. And I think Bukauskas is going to finish him. I'm going to pick Bukauskas third round TKO. Prachnio was very tired in the third round of the Devin Clark fight. You know, his cardio has been a bit suspicious throughout his UFC career. So I'm going to pick Bukauskas to finish him in the third round, clip him on the feet with a punch, put him down, finish him with ground and pound. But if Prachnio wins, I think he has to land like a filthy head kick in the first round, second round, early second round. Bukauskas has been finished 5 times in his UFC career. But overall, I'm going Bukauskas to put him away in the third round. A stamina-drained Marcin Prachnio gets finished in the third round. I'm picking Bukauskas. Next fight on the card, we have Shauna Bannon versus Alice Ardelean. Alice Ardelean stepped in on short notice, relatively short notice. And look, I watched some fight footage, but she's fighting at the Kentucky State Fair, and they have no good cameras. I mean, the fight footage I watched was horrible. Her last win's against a girl who's 0-3. Before that, 2-0. Before that, 0-1. Before that, 3-4. I mean, so she barely has wins over people who have winning records. She's basically an amateur, but that's what Shauna Bannon is as well. She lost to Bruna, Brasil, okay. She got a win over a 6-4 girl before that. 1-2 before that. I mean, both of them have horrible resumes. How are these girls even in the UFC? Bannon wants to grapple, but her grappling isn't that great. Her striking is horrible. She rushes forward like Juliana Miller. She just wants to kind of get you down and end up on top and grind you out wrestling style. And Ardelean is, I mean, she's just fighting scrubs. And the footage I watched was like in 480p. And she didn't look that great. She did fight Weili Zhang back in the day, back in, I believe it was 2016. But she got absolutely wrecked. I mean, that was 8 years ago. But she got wrecked by Weili Zhang. She's been relatively kind of inactive. She fought 11 months ago. She fought a year and a half ago. But before that, you're looking at 2.5 years ago. 3 years ago almost, and 6 years ago. So 5 fights ago was damn near, it was 6.5 years ago, over 6.5 years ago. So not super active, 32 years old. I've seen nothing in her game that proves she's a professional fighter or belongs in the UFC. I'm thinking the UFC is just trying to promote Bannon because maybe some simps will get behind her, and she is from Ireland. So I'm going to pick Shauna Bannon. I'm going to pick her via decision. I don't think she's good. I mean, I don't think Bruna Brasil's all that good. And Bruna Brasil beat her. I picked Bruna Brasil to beat her. I think Bannon will probably just out-grapple her, The striking will be close. They'll both look sloppy. Both look like they've gone to the Juliana Miller school of striking. But overall, I'm picking Bannon to get this done via decision, and I think it's going to be a very low-level crap fight that nobody's ever going to remember. And also, Alice is coming in on kind of short notice. I forgot exactly when the fight was canceled. The other opponent pulled out of this fight against Bannon, but relatively short notice. Handpicked 9-5, coming off a win against an 0-3 girl in an organization that I'm not even sure of that organization. So I'm picking Shauna Bannon to get it done via decision. Next fight on the card, Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosbie. Look, this is another fight where the writing's on the wall, guys. The writing's on the wall. The UFC, when they go to certain places, they try to put matchups on the card favorable to hometown fighters to build that market. And I think that's what's going on here with Sam Patterson and Kiefer Crosbie. I'm picking Sam Patterson. I'm picking him to get it done. First round submission. I think he probably gets another rear naked choke. Kiefer Crosbie's just garbage, man. He's garbage. He fought Kevin Jousset in his last fight. Had okay, first minute or so, landed some hooks, and then basically gave up. Got dragged to the ground and got finished via rear naked choke. You look at Sam Patterson, his last fight, Johan Linnes dragged him to the ground and rear naked choked him. I thought Linnes was actually going to win that fight. I picked him. Before that, he got KO'd by Yanal Ashmus, but he got clipped early and got finished. I think Sam Patterson in this matchup is the better, more technical striker, definitely the better grappler. And Crosbie, you look at some of his other opponents that he fought outside the UFC, outside of Alex Oliveira, who's getting up there in age, the guy he fought before that, Brian Lowe, and I don't even know how to pronounce his name, is damn near 40 years old. The guy before that was pretty old as well. He's losing Bellator fights. He's not super active. He's 34 years old. He comes in this fight with an 8-inch reach disadvantage. I mean, an 8-inch reach disadvantage, 4-inch height advantage, or 4-inch height disadvantage as well. So Patterson's coming in younger, 6 years younger, the better grappling, decent striking, massive reach advantage, massive height advantage. I think Crosbie, he throws nasty hooks early and he throws big power shots. But after that, to watch him quit against Kevin Jousset, hands on the mat, not even fighting the rear naked choke as it was thrown on, and then almost to see an identical scenario play out for Sam Patterson versus Johan Linnes, I see something similar to that happening in this fight. Sam Patterson does carry his chin high. We saw that in both his fights. He paid for it in the Yanal Ashmus fight. I don't think he's going to pay for it here. I think he's going to initiate the grappling early. I think he's going to out-grapple Kiefer Crosbie. I think he's going to finish Kiefer Crosbie. I'm picking Sam Patterson to get it done. I'm going to say first round rear naked choke. Next fight on the card, we have Oban Elliott versus Preston Parsons. This is damn near a mirror match, to be honest. They're very, very similar. Neither one has particularly great striking. Both of them want to grapple. And I've kind of flipped and flopped back and forth on this fight because I picked Parsons in his last fight against Matthew Semmelsberger. I feel like nobody was picking him in that fight. Matthew Semmelsberger has horrible fight IQ. But in that fight, it was super competitive. Semmelsberger was able to take him down a couple times and hold him down a little bit. Before that, Parsons had a competitive fight against Trevin Giles. It was actually a close fight. Could have went either way. It was a split decision win for Trevin Giles. You have Oban Elliott, one fight in the UFC, coming off of Dana White's Contender Series. Beat Val Woodburn, but got hurt early by Val Woodburn. So I think both these guys kind of have lackluster striking. They both want to grapple. But I think maybe Oban Elliott, I think he's going to have the grappling advantage. And I think he probably is just on par with Preston Parsons striking. So I think it's going to be close on the feet. And I just think that Oban Elliott will be able to have more control time. He'll do more damage on the ground. Parsons, he's constantly looking for subs. He has 9 of 11 wins via submission. And sometimes it puts him in bad positions. Even in the Matthew Semmelsberger fight, he was looking for submissions, put himself in bad positions. I think he even did it in the Trevin Giles fights as well, but don't quote me on that. And I think in a fight against Oban Elliott, who has really good jiu-jitsu and really good grappling as well, I think he's going to put himself in bad positions looking for maybe a submission or something, or just to put himself on his back because he's like, I like fighting off my back. I like looking for, triangles and whatever. I think Oban Elliott will take advantage of that, find some control time. I think on the feet, it'll be close. Parsons seems to be improving. I don't know how good Oban Elliott's striking is because it kind of looked like shit against Val Woodburn. So if I had to give an advantage in the striking department, I would probably side with Parsons. But I'm going to go Oban Elliott to get it done. I think he gets it done. I think he has better takedowns as well. Entries to takedowns. He does get hit. and he is very aggressive, but I don't think Parsons has the power to put him out. Like Val Woodburn has nasty power, and that's why he almost finished him or hurt him badly in the first round. But I'm going to pick Oban Elliott. I think it's going to be a close, grind-him-out fight where Oban Elliott just has a hair more control time. Both guys like fighting in the clinch. Both guys looking for takedowns. Scrambles back to their feet. Scrambling in different jiu-jitsu positions on the ground. Guys looking for subs. And maybe Rogan screams, oh, it's close. It's close. I don't even know if Rogan's going to be commentating this. I don't think he is. But I think Oban Elliott gets it done. I think he squeaks it out. Probably a 29-28 decision win for Oban Elliott. Next fight on the card, heavyweight matchup. Mick Parkin versus Łukasz Brzeski. Look, this is another one of those matchups, and maybe I'm going to be dead wrong on this one. This is another one of those UK matchups. Mick Parkin from England, Brzeski from Poland. I think Mick Parkin is going to win this fight rather easily. I'm going to pick Mick Parkin to win it via decision. I don't see him putting away Brzeski. But then again, I didn't see Waldo Cortez Acosta putting away Brzeski, and he did. I mean, one of those shots was to the back of the head. But Brzeski was on a 3-fight losing streak, and then he got the winner against Walter Walker in his last fight. Got out grappled there by Walter Walker a little bit, and Walter Walker had no cardio. Mick Parkin, you know, while he's a low-level heavyweight just like Brzeski, he has decent combinations. He has decent grappling. You know, he wants to grapple, and I think Brzeski is going to get taken down, beaten up. I don't think Brzeski's, you know, super elite on the feet. I mean, the heavyweight division is the worst division. These guys are like bottom of the barrel of the heavyweight division. I think Mick Parkin, undefeated, decent volume, decent combinations, getting better, younger, 28 years old versus 32 years old. Not a huge age gap, but I think Mick Parkin gets this one done. I see him taking him down, beating him up. I see him landing combinations on the feet. I see Brzeski kind of getting tired from trying to work his way back to his feet, trying to get, you know, trying to defend takedowns up against defense. I see him getting tired, and I see Mick Parkin just trucking along, landing good shots, beating him up against the fence, getting him down, getting some control time. You look at his last fight, kind of what he did to Muhammad Usman, kind of beat him up with volume on the feet. Not a lot of grappling in that fight. Before that, Caio Machado, mixing the grappling in that fight. Mick Parkin wants to grapple. Brzeski's kind of weakness is his grappling. Even Walter Walker was able to do it. I think Waldo Cortez Acosta took him down. Carl Williams definitely took him down repeatedly in that fight. And that's not that long ago, and Carl Williams isn't that good. So Mick Parkin gets this done rather easily. I could see him maybe finding a submission finish, but I'm not confident picking him to get a finish on the ground or on the feet. But I'm picking Mick Parkin to get it done. I'm not picking a dude who literally got KO'd by Waldo Cortez Acosta. I just can't pick someone. So I'm picking Mick Parkin via decision. Next fight on the card, we have Kylan Loughran versus Jake Hadley. This is a good matchup. This is actually a solid prelim. Look, Kylan Loughran kind of reminds me of Michael Chandler in fight style. He's not sitting around 2 years waiting for another man to give him praise or give him acknowledgement. He's actually fighting, but he loads up. He has decent wrestling. He has big power. He has decent grappling as well. Well, yeah, I said he has decent wrestling. You know, he's coming off a win against Angel Pacheco. Probably a little bit closer than he wanted, but I mean, he clearly won the fight. He just took a little bit of damage in that fight. Before that, a fight against Taylor Lapulus that he took on short notice and had some decent success, and Lapulus is a very good striker. Jake Hadley's coming off a loss against Charles Johnson, which hasn't aged that badly considering Charles Johnson just brutally KO'd Van. Before that, lost to Cody Durden. Didn't have a lot of success in that fight. I think Jake Hadley is going to be at a disadvantage on the feet. He's definitely at a power disadvantage. And Jake Hadley is far too willing to engage in the grappling because he likes to look for submissions off of his back. You know, he almost had that, I think it was an armbar or triangle in the second round against Cody Durden. I think Loughran can take him down, beat him up. Jake Hadley will be looking to scramble for subs, and I think Loughran's good enough to defend those submission attempts. And I just think Loughran, faster hands, better power, more well-rounded. And I think Hadley, you know, I think he's didn't he miss weight on Dana White's Contender Series? He shouldn't even got a contract, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, no, and he was even having a competitive fight against Malcolm Gordon before he got the finish. So I'm not, you know, he got out-grappled by Alan Nascimento. I can see Loughran taking him down, beating him up, landing on the feet. Hadley's going to have to respect the power, so his output isn't even going to be as crazy. And then if Hadley's losing on the feet, he's going to be like, okay, well, maybe I can pull guard. And then Loughran's just going to beat him up in guard, wear on him, land big shots as Hadley tries to scramble for submissions. So I'm picking Kylan Loughran. I'm going to say via decision. I don't think he gets him out of there. Hadley isn't like known for any durability issues or anything like that. And I don't think Loughran is going to find like a big right hand and sleep him, but it's possible, you know, it's possible. But Charles Johnson landed some decent combinations. Loughran could do the same, but I think Charles Johnson and Cody Durden are more on par with Loughran's skill set in terms of, how good is he? And I think Jake Hadley is just a notch below. So I think Loughran, he's got a weird name to say. I think he wins this fight. I think he wins via decision. And I think Jake Hadley is soon to be washed out of the UFC. So I'm picking Loughran to get it done over Jake Hadley. I'm going to say 30-27 decision for Loughran. Next fight on the card, we have Molly McCann versus Bruno Brasil. This is one of the easier picks on the card. I think Molly McCann down a weight class is much better than where she was at flyweight, where she couldn't really impose her physicality. I think she can at strawweight. You look at her last fight, absolutely destroyed Diana Belbita, got a submission. Before that, against Juliana Stolarenko, she looked horrible, got submitted. Before that, got destroyed by Erin Blanchfield. No shame in that. Before that, KO'd Hannah Goldie, KO'd Luana Carolina, which is a decent win, I guess. I mean, she's just coming off a win. Bruno Brasil's coming off a loss to Luma Lumbume, if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't even remember. One against Shauna Bannon, literally a scrub, one via decision. I think Molly McCann goes out there and steamrolls Bruno Brasil. Molly McCann doesn't have great grappling. Bruno Brasil is not physically imposing enough or a good enough grappler to go out there and ragdoll Molly McCann. Molly McCann has found a home at strawweight, and I think her size and strength is going to give a lot of girls problems at strawweight. So I'm going to pick Molly McCann to go out there, walk her down, brutally KO her in the first round. I'm not picking Bruno Brasil. I'm just not. I know Molly McCann's been around forever. I know I've called her a scrub before, but I think her moving down to strawweight is going to help her career significantly, and I think she runs through Bruno Brasil. If Bruno Brasil could go out there and just grapple her nonstop, I think she can win, but I just don't think so, because even though Molly McCann has some deficiencies with her takedown defense, has some deficiencies with her jiu-jitsu, I just think she's too big and strong. I think she's going to shuck some of these girls off. I think Bruno Brasil is going to look to clinch up. Molly McCann is just going to disengage and throw her off her, Cody Bumdage, Bo Nichols style. I think that's what's going to happen here. And I think Molly McCann's going to walk her down, looking for a highlight reel finish in the UK. And I think she gets it done. So I'm picking Molly McCann first round KO. Next fight on the card, we have Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. Look, I mean, how can you go with Daniel Pineda in this fight? He's 38 years old, almost 39, literally a week away from being 39 years old. So he might even, I'm not looking at the date right now, may even be 39 by the time the fight happens. And then you have Nathaniel Wood, kind of a very interesting prospect in the featherweight division at 30 years old, going on 31, arguably in the prime of his career, coming off a loss against Muhammad Naimov, but that was a close fight. He got fouled quite a bit, and Naimov's actually a decent fighter. So how can you pick against Nathaniel Wood? Daniel Pineda is kind of a jiu-jitsu guy who has some decent power, but you look over his career, I mean, he beat Tucker Lutz. He submitted Tucker Lutz. Before that, no contest against Andre Feely. Before that, lost to Cub Swanson. I know that was 4 years ago, but that just shows even his inactivity. And he's 39 years old. I think he's going to be lost in a fight with Nathaniel Wood. I think Nathaniel Wood, super well-rounded, good combinations, has good leg kicks. He's durable. He has been rocked. He got rocked in the Naimov fight, survived. I think it was a left hook. I think the Andre Feely fight, I think he got caught with a right hook. Either way, I might be mixing those up, but I think I'm right on that. But either way, got rocked in both those fights, was able to survive. And I think both those guys are better than Daniel Pineda. Muhammad Naimov better than Daniel Pineda. Andre Feely better than Daniel Pineda. And Daniel Pineda, while he has good jiu-jitsu and he has good submission game, he hasn't really implemented it against a decent opponent in a long time. He has 28 wins via finish, 19 subs, but he's been finished 9 times. So, and you look back at his UFC submission wins, they're like in 2014, 2016. I'm not looking at him right now, but he has to grapple. And Nathaniel Wood, while he's shown a little bit of deficiencies in his grappling, I don't think a 39-year-old, damn near 40-year-old Daniel Pineda is going to go out there and expose him. Nathaniel Wood's super well-rounded. He's kind of like a newer breed of fighter. I know he's been in the UFC for a bit, but he's not just like this one skill set type fighter. He's going to go out there and mix everything in. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good striking. And I think he picks Daniel Pineda apart. And Pineda doesn't have a good gas tank. Like in his last fight against Alex Caceres, he got picked apart. He was looking gassed in the second round. Looking gassed there, eating a lot of kicks. And Nathaniel Woods has good kicks as well. Before that against Tucker Lutz, even Tucker Lutz was landing some good shots. So I'm going to pick Nathaniel Wood to get it done. I'm going to say second round TKO. I don't think he's going to sub Pineda. Pineda has really good jiu-jitsu, but I think Nathaniel Wood's going to go out there, put on a statement performance. I think this is another one of those fights. Where you have an English guy, the UFC's trying to push him. He's a younger guy. Let's put him up against 40-year-old Daniel Pineda to go out there and get a statement win. I'm picking Nathaniel Wood's second round TKO. Up on the card, the featured prelim. This should be on the main card. This should be on the main card. We have Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. Tricky fight to pick. I've been flipping and flopping back and forth on this fight. Great flyweight matchup. And arguably a number one contender fight. You know, I know you have Kai Asakura coming in, potentially fighting Pantoja next. This is next in line right here. And this is a big fight in the flyweight division. It's a tough fight to pick. It's basically grappler versus striker. Can Kape keep it on the feet? Or can Mokaev get him to the ground and implement his grappling? And I don't think either. I think both guys have kind of been overhyped a little bit. Kape, I mean, you look at his last few wins. He went life and death with Felipe Dos Santos on short notice, who's much smaller than him. Before that, had a competitive fight with David Dvorak where he was out-grappled, I believe, in the first round for a little bit. I think he still won that first round. Before that, beat Zalglas Zumagulov. He's not even in the UFC anymore. Before that, Ode Osborne. I don't even know if he's in the UFC anymore. Before that, lost to Mateus Nicolau, where he got out-grappled, lost a split decision, close fight. So I think Kape's kind of overhyped. People like, you know, that he uses homophobic slurs in his post-fight interviews. So I think people have kind of hyped him up a bit. But Mokaev, he's looked like shit and then has found a way to kind of overshadow shit performances with finishes. Now, he wasn't able to do it against Alex Perez in his last fight. It was kind of like he looked good for 2 rounds, started to gas out and panic shoot in the 3rd round. But I think Perez has really good takedown defense. Kind of has, you know, a background in wrestling, you know, and never really has been a guy that gets taken down and out-grappled badly. And Mokaev was looking really good in those first 2 rounds. Before that, kind of looked like shit against Tim Elliott, finds like a 3rd round arm triangle in that fight. Before that, Jafel Filio got a 3rd round rear naked choke, almost suffered a knee bar in that fight, refused to tap. Before that, beat Malcolm Gordon. I think that was a relatively competitive fight as well. But it really comes down to, can Mokaev implement the grappling against Manel Kape? Manel Kape likes to just charge forward, be aggressive, but he doesn't have a whole lot of output, but he likes to walk you down and hope that you make a mistake as he feints quite a bit. And against people he's worried about is going to be looking for takedowns. He keeps his hands very low and his hips back, and he's susceptible to being hit. And we've seen Mokaev, even against like Cody Durden, land a flying knee. And I think Mokaev's striking is better than people give him credit for. I'm going to pick Mokaev. I'm going to pick Mokaev to win this fight against Kape. I could actually see him KOing him with like a flying knee or like an uppercut because Kape's going to be leaning forward with his chin out there. But when I went back and rewatched their fights, I'm looking at Mokaev. He doesn't just shoot a single leg. He doesn't just shoot a double leg. He chain wrestles nonstop. And as long as he's not gassed, I think he will be able to out-grapple Manel Kape. And on top of that, I just see a striking battle where Manel Kape is so worried about the takedown, he doesn't let his hands go enough. And unless Mokaev just completely gasses out, I think he wins. I think he gets control time. I think he lands on the feet. I don't think he's a complete fish out of water on the feet. And Kape, one thing I did notice, and I can't remember exactly which fights it was in, but it was some of his recent fights that I watched. He makes mistakes where he throws like flashy techniques and gives up his back. I think one of them was against David Dvorak. I think one of them was against Mateus Nicolau. He'll slip, end up on the ground. He'll throw, you know, like a spinning back kick and somebody will snatch up his back. Mokaev is a guy that once he gets a hold of you, he finds a way to chain wrestle into a good position. So I'm going to pick Mokaev to get it done. Does he find a submission? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say he doesn't find a submission. But I'm going to say he's improved his striking some more. He's very young. He's only 23 years old, where Kape's going on 31. I think he's going to, you know, work over Kape in the grappling. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. But I think Mokaev ultimately wins via decision in a close fight where some people maybe think Kape gets it. But I think Kape is just going to be too inactive on the feet. There's been times where he's worried about the takedown and he's like pressuring forward, but he's not throwing. And he even starts showboating a bit. And I think people are going to be like, oh yeah, look at him. He's showboating. He's clearly winning. But realistically, Mokaev is going to get some takedowns, work into a good position, land some decent ground and pound. Kape's going to be up against the fence trying to work his way back up. And I think Mokaev wins this fight. And don't be shocked if Mokaev somehow sleeps him. I could see that happening. Now, if Mokaev ends up in the 3rd round like he did against Perez, where he's absolutely gassed, where he's panic shooting, where he's sitting down, it was a horrible look. And I could see Kape finishing him in the 3rd round. But I'm not going to pick that. I'm not going to count on him gassing out again. I don't think Kape is as good as of a grappler as Alex Perez, as crazy as that sounds. I think Kape has an advantage on the feet, but we've seen time and time again where grapplers come in and they neutralize the stand-up threat because the striker that they're fighting is worried about the takedown. So I think it's going to be competitive on the feet. I think Kape will get taken down. He might defend 1 or 2, but then Mokaev is just going to chain wrestle and chain wrestle and chain wrestle. The question is, does Mokaev get tired? Does he get tired? I'm going to say It's a close fight. I'm going to say he does get tired, but not as tired as he did against Perez. I'm picking Mokaev to win via decision. Moving up on the card to the main card, we have Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. This is a great fight. This main card is amazing. I cannot wait for UFC 304. Look, I think the pick you have to go with here. You have to go with Arnold Allen. I'm picking Arnold Allen to get it done. I like Giga Chikadze. I think he's a good fighter, but they're almost 36 years old. He's 35 and 11 months, so he's almost 36 years old. He's been kind of inactive. He had a competitive fight with Alex Caceres literally almost a year ago. Before that, lost to Calvin Kattar 2.5 years ago. That was his opportunity to kind of burst into the top 10 and, you know, actually be a legit contender. And now this fight, this win, if he gets a win over Arnold Allen, that will make him a contender. But I just don't trust him to get it done here. Arnold Allen, I'm very high on Arnold Allen. He's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Movsar Evloev. No shame in that super competitive fight. I thought he clearly lost. I know some people were saying he won, but I thought he lost that fight. I think Movsar Evloev is a legit title contender. Before that, lost to Max Holloway. Where's the shame in losing to Max Holloway? So I think Arnold Allen's just too good. I mean, Giga Chikadze does have that Giga kick, that nasty body kick that he's probably going to implement, but I don't see Giga going out there and just putting on a masterclass kickboxing performance. And I think Arnold Allen has a physicality advantage here. We've seen Giga's weakness. We saw it against Calvin Kattar. Walk him down, land good shots, put the pressure on him. And unless he's in like a super patient kickboxing match, he struggles. And Arnold Allen's just so good everywhere. Movsar has elite level grappling. And Arnold Allen was scrambling and scrambling and scrambling against Evloev. I think Arnold Allen could even out-grapple Giga Chikadze. Giga's not going to mix in the grappling. When has he ever shot a takedown? Has he ever even shot a takedown in the UFC? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, you're looking at some of his wins. His best win is Edson Barboza 3 years ago. He's been inactive. He's coming off a close fight against Alex Caceres, which I thought he clearly won, but it was competitive. I have to pick Arnold Allen. You know, I know he's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, but look at the level of opposition. He's gritty. He has that nasty win over Dan Hooker. I know that was a malnourished Dan Hooker, but still, I think Arnold Allen has to get this done here because Giga just likes that nice, patient kickboxing match, and Arnold Allen's not going to give him that. He's going to get in his face. He's defensively responsible. He's super well-rounded, can mix in the grappling. I think he will mix in the grappling, and I just think Chikadze struggles with that pressure. I think everyone knows that. Calvin Kattar exposed that, and I don't trust his cardio to hold up in a gritty, competitive fight against Arnold Allen, who went 5 rounds with Max Holloway, literally the king of cardio. So I have to pick Arnold Allen this matchup. I think for Giga, it's now or never. He is almost 36. He talked about being a title challenger. It's now or never for him. He has to get a win over Arnold Allen. How does he win? I think he needs a TKO, or he really needs to implement great movement and kickboxing from the outside. I don't think that's going to happen. Arnold Allen's going to be in his face from the very start of this fight. Even if Chikadze starts to win on the feet, I think Allen will mix in the clinch, mix in the grappling, and maybe give away the first round, but Giga will wear down and Arnold Allen will win the second and third. So I'm going to say Arnold Allen via decision. I'm going to say he gets it done a fairly clear-cut decision, probably a 30-27, maybe loses the first round max, but I'm picking Arnold Allen to get it done. Next fight on the card, we have Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodrigues. Now, this is a great fight. This should be on the prelims for Mokaev versus Kape should be in its spot. This is a very tough fight to pick. And I actually just did some research on this fight right before I recorded this video. And I was back and forth on this fight. Duncan, I was very high on when he came into the UFC. He looked good, had good movement. You know, his UFC debut was kind of inconclusive considering Todorovic injured his knee, but Christian Leroy Duncan was clearly winning. Then he loses to Armin Petrosyan, which I didn't think was a horrible loss, but it was like, oh, I thought he was going to win that fight. And then he beats Dennis Loughran, finishes him. Then he beats Claudio Ribeiro, TKO'd him as well. That was 4 months ago. Gregory Rodrigues is coming off a win over Brad Tavares, as well as Dennis Loughran as well. Dominated him, took him out. What I think this fight comes down to is Christian Leroy Duncan's takedown defense, because people think of Gregory Rodrigues as this one-punch KO power guy. He has excellent grappling. He went out there, shot a takedown against Loughran, immediately took him down and full mounted him and landed elbows. We've seen Christian Leroy Duncan out-grappled a little bit. I think it was in the Petrosyan fight. I'm trying to think if there was any other fights. I think it was really just the Petrosyan fight where he got taken down. Because in the other fights against Loughran, he was clinching up. He never got taken down. The Ribeiro fight, I don't think he got taken down. But again, I don't think Ribeiro nor Loughran is anywhere close to the level of Gregory Rodrigues. And Gregory Rodrigues has nasty power on the feet. But I think Christian Leroy Duncan's kind of funky style in his movement and stance switching and in and out. He darts in and out, and he has good combinations. And also, he's strong in the clinch. Again, I know he got taken down by Patterson, but I think Patterson a really good fighter. Patterson has a win over Gregory Rodrigues. And I'm looking at Gregory Rodrigues. He struggled a little bit taking down Brad Tavares, eventually finished him, and I think he did get a takedown against Tavares as well. It comes down to, I think that Leroy Duncan will definitely be superior on the feet. Can Gregory Rodrigues catch him? Leroy Duncan's very hard to hit. And so I think Rodrigues is going to have to resort to the grappling, and I think Leroy Duncan's in and out movement is going to give Gregory Rodrigues trouble. I'm going to pick Christian Leroy Duncan to get it done via finish. I'm going to pick him to TKO. I'm going to say second round TKO for Christian Leroy Duncan. RoboCop, if he can't get the takedown, he likes to get in your face and throw real heavy power shots. And I think Duncan's accuracy is what's going to pay off for him in this fight. I think he's going to catch Gregory Rodrigues frustrated, not being able to land, coming in for the takedowns. Heavy on the lead leg. Duncan has good leg kicks. I think he's going to be chopping that leg of Gregory Rodrigues. I'm watching Gregory Rodrigues get tagged by Brad Tavares. And I know Brad Tavares is a decent fighter, but I think Duncan will be able to find that KO shot. Has nasty elbows. We saw what he did to Loughran. It's crazy because Rodrigues finished Loughran on the ground with elbows. Leroy Duncan was throwing elbows like they were fists up against the fence against Loughran. So I'm going to pick Christian Leroy Duncan to get it done. I think he sleeps Gregory Rodrigues. I'm going to pick him to sleep him in the second round. He got slept by Bruna Fajeda. He got too aggressive there. I think he's going to get too aggressive, looking to kind of get one back after he's not able to complete the single leg, not chain wrestle the double leg. I think Leroy Duncan's just kind of crafty and hard to get a hold of. And I think eventually he's going to walk into a big shot. Christian Leroy Duncan, second round TKO win. Cannot wait for that middleweight matchup. Moving up on the card, the featured fight on the card, we have Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. This is a very, very tough fight to pick. I can just see both sides. So you look at Bobby Green. If I want to sit here and make the case for Bobby Green has pretty good striking. He keeps his hands low, but he finds the chins. He finds the chin of his opponents very well. He beat the dog shit out of Jim Miller in his last fight. But he has issues with grapplers and, guys who have size advantages over him. And then you have Paddy Pimblett, who keeps his chin way up in the air. And Bobby Green's going to be able to tag that chin. And Bobby Green even has a KO win over Grant Dawson. So I see the pick, Bobby Green via KO. Paddy keeps his chin up in the air. But look, Bobby Green's almost 38 years old. Paddy Pimblett's 29. Paddy Pimblett, I think, is still improving, even though I don't think he's that good. And I think he has a massive size advantage. His chin is held up thus far. He's been clipped quite a bit, I know. And you go back into his fights, he was even getting tagged by Tony Ferguson. Joe Rogan was sucking him off. And Tony Ferguson was landing on the chin. And I know Paddy was landing back and eventually won that fight via decision. But you look at Paddy Pimblett, his chin's right up in the air. And that makes me want to pick Bobby Green by KO. But I'm not. I'm going to pick Paddy Pimblett to get it done. And I almost picked him via TKO. I could see this being kind of a coming out party for Paddy Pimblett because here's why I'm not picking Bobby Green. On top of the age, 37 years old, going on 38, you look at his last two fights. Jim Miller was tagging him, even hurt him in the first round. Before that, he took a nasty, destructive TKO against Jalen Turner, where the referee wanted to see him dead. I don't think you can come back from that. And I think Bobby Green is chinny, and maybe we just don't know it yet. Because he got tagged by Jim Miller. Jim Miller's old. I know people are hyping him up. He's old. Of course Bobby Green was going to beat him up. He's like 42 years old or something shit like that. I think young Paddy Pimblett can go out there and impose his physicality on Bob Green. I know he has a different name now, but we're going to call him Bob Green. And I think Paddy Pimblett's kicks are going to be instrumental in him winning this fight. I think he'll mix in the grappling. I wanted to pick Paddy Pimblett first round KO because I'm telling you right now, I don't believe in Green's chin. So if it comes chin to chin, because I think Bobby Green takes far too many shots because he keeps his hands low. It's a funky style that he's had his entire career. But as you get older, you get slower, your reactions aren't as good. You start to get clipped on the chin, which he has. It happened against Jalen Turner. It happened against Jim Miller. I think even Grant Dawson didn't land anything. That was the first round. I think even Tony Ferguson landed some shots as well. Now, he finished Tony Ferguson, but in that fight, I think Tony Ferguson won the first round. And Tony Ferguson's a dead body. Now, I know Paddy Pimblett just beat Tony Ferguson, and he's a dead body as well, and he did have his chin up in the air. But I think the youth advantage for Paddy Pimblett, I think the size advantage for Paddy Pimblett, I think the grappling advantage for Paddy Pimblett, which I do think he'll mix in, and I think just Bobby Green's chin is gone. It's highly speculative. I want to pick Bobby Green because I really do see his skill set. Like, I'm like, you know what? He has good hands. He KO'd TJ Grant, who's a much better grappler than Paddy Pimblett. Like, I would pick TJ Grant to beat Paddy Pimblett right now. But I just don't think that Bobby Green, over the history of his career, he's not shown the touch of death. So I think Paddy Pimblett is going to land on the feet. I think he's going to eat some shots of his own. I think he'll hurt Bobby Green. I think he'll mix in the grappling. Paddy Pimblett has some really good kicks. You know, his striking isn't that great. His hands aren't that great, but he mixes in the leg kicks, nasty body kicks, and head kicks. Even mixes in the knees, was mixing in the knees against Tony Ferguson. I'm going to pick Paddy Pimblett to win this via decision. I think his chin will hold up, and I think Bobby Green might get clipped a couple times, hurt a couple times, and I think Paddy Pimblett will mix in the clinch and grappling, and I think he'll have a size and strength advantage over Bobby Green. I'm going Paddy Pimblett via decision, but don't be surprised if Paddy Pimblett goes out there and chins him with a high kick. Keeping the hands low when you're slowing down and your reflexes aren't as good, and you're getting clipped on the chin by slow Jim Miller, Paddy Pimblett may go out there and this may be his statement performance to get into the top 15 of the lightweight division. That's why the UFC made this matchup. They made this matchup because they said Bobby Green's in the top 15, Paddy Pimblett could beat him. So let's book this matchup. I'm picking Paddy Pimblett to win via decision. Next fight on the card, co-main event. We have Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes 2. Look, I know people are going to reference the first fight. There's no really value in dissecting that first fight. There's no real value. It ended in like 15 seconds. It was a couple years ago. Curtis Blaydes was winning, but it lasted so little amount of time. There's no real value. Tom Aspinall blew out his knee. It was over. He got wheeled out in the world's smallest chair. Since then, you know, he's come back. He beat Marcin Tybura. He got a title shot on short notice against Sergey Pavlovich and brutally KO'd him. Tom Aspinall has kind of been a guy that a lot of people have had their eye on in the heavyweight division for a while. He's young, he's athletic, he's powerful, he's well-rounded. People look at him as like a new breed of heavyweight. Where Curtis Blaydes he's been around for a while. He's coming off a win over Jailton Almeida where he's getting ragdolled and gets, you know, those Travis Brown elbows where he gets the KO in the clinch or on a takedown attempt from Almeida. Outside of that, I think Almeida's winning that fight. Before that, got KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. And I know MMA math doesn't work, but literally a little over a year ago, Curtis Blaydes is getting slept by Sergey Pavlovich. And then 8 months ago, Sergey Pavlovich is getting slept by Tom Aspinall. I don't trust Curtis Blaydes to be able to go out there and out-grapple him. I just don't. Tom Aspinall has excellent grappling. Look what he did to Volkov. Took Volkov down, immediately submitted him. He's fast on the feet. He's athletic. I think if Blaydes wants to win this fight, he's going to have to win it on the feet, and I don't think he's going to win it on the feet. We've seen him clipped and KO'd before. We've seen him KO'd by Ngannou. We've seen him KO'd by Derek Lewis. And I just think his chin's there to be had. And I think Aspinall's in the prime of his career. Heavyweight, anything can happen. I think it would be hilarious if Curtis Blaydes won. I think that would actually be funny. But I think Tom Aspinall's in the prime of his career right now. This is his moment to really put the pressure on John Jones and Stipe Miocic, which are supposedly fighting in November. I think Aspinall must win this fight. I think he must win this fight. I hope there's no fluky injury in this matchup. But how can you pick, like I'm trying to come up with a scenario where I pick Curtis Blaydes. I understand Blaydes is super well-rounded. I understand he is. I understand he's a massive heavyweight. But like looking back at his last few fights, like how do I pick him to win? Like let's go through him. Jailton Almeida, he's losing till he wins with some elbows. Okay, is that going to happen again? Doubtful. Tom Aspinall's not going to make that mistake. Before that, gets KO'd by Sergey Pavlovich. Before that, a win over Tom Aspinall that meant nothing because the injury happened so soon. Before that, a win over Chris Daukaus. Before that, a win over Jairzinho Rosenstruck where he out-grappled him. He's not out-grappling Tom Aspinall for 5 rounds. It'll be interesting if we get into the championship rounds because heavyweights, we know they have no cardio. But I just think Tom Aspinall is the complete package for the heavyweight division, which I think is ass. I think Aspinall is going to be slicker on the feet. Curtis Blaydes doesn't have great entries for his wrestling. So what is he going to do? Go out there and just, you know, look for double legs? I think Aspinall will be able to stuff those double legs. Aspinall's a big heavyweight as well. So I just can't imagine a world where Curtis Blaydes gets this done. I think Tom Aspinall defends his UFC interim heavyweight title. I hope he gets on the mic and calls out John Jones and says, John Jones, why are you hiding from me? Fight me. Forget about old fire department Stipe Miocic. Fight me. Stop running. I think that would be a massive moment. I think it would put pressure on the UFC. I think it would put pressure on John Jones. And I think he needs to do that. I think if Tom Aspinall wins this fight, he has to call out John Jones afterwards. But if Curtis Blaydes wins, look, At heavyweight, anything can happen. Curtis Blaydes' striking has improved. Could he throw a straight right down the pike and just brutalize Tom Aspinall? Of course, it's possible. He's got nasty elbows if he gets on top. He's super heavy if he gets on top, but it's a matter of getting there. And Aspinall's super athletic. Aspinall's much faster, more athletic than Curtis Blaydes. I'm picking Tom Aspinall. I'm going to pick him to KO Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes has kind of been chinny throughout his career. Heavyweight, these power punches, once they land on your chin, you're getting slept. And Curtis Blaydes is going to try to strike with him early, and I think he's going to get slapped. I'm going to pick Tom Aspinall second round KO. I think he gets it done. Moving on to the main event. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad 2 for the welterweight title. This is a banger matchup, boys. The rematch we've all been waiting for. I don't care what anyone says, by the way. I've been very adamant about this fight for a while. I absolutely love this matchup. I'm so tired of people saying, oh, I don't care because they don't have personalities. Go watch WWE. We have 13-fight unbeaten streak Leon Edwards with the welterweight title defending against 10-fight unbeaten streak Belal Muhammad. That's a banger matchup. Both are the elite of the elite. You have the interesting backstory of they fought each other many years ago. I am dying to see this fight. And I know a lot of people are picking Leon Edwards. I get it. They're picking Leon Edwards. They're like, oh, well, he's trained for, 3 wrestlers straight. And I understand that. And they're saying, well, the first fight back in 2021, Leon Edwards was winning. And there was an eye poke. So whatever, because if you don't know, they fought in 2021. Leon Edwards won the first round. And then there was an eye poke in the beginning of the second round. And Belal Muhammad was unable to continue. What people don't mention about that fight is it was 1 round. And also, Belal Muhammad got poked multiple times. And also, Belal Muhammad stepped in on, I believe, 3 weeks' notice to take that fight. Belal Muhammad was out of the top 10. Leon Edwards was ranked number 3 at the time. Belal jumped at the opportunity to step in on 3 weeks' notice and fought Leon Edwards. Lost the first round, gets eye poked, and then people act like there's no way he could beat Leon 3 years later in 2024. My official pick for this fight, I'm going Belal Muhammad. I'm picking Belal Muhammad. I think he gets it done. And I'm not only picking him to win the welterweight title, I'm picking him to win by finish. I think Belal Muhammad wins 5th round TKO. I think there's a 5th round curse in the welterweight division. You look at Leon Edwards, all his hype was stolen when he got cracked by Nate Diaz in the 5th round and almost finished. If Nate Diaz would have stopped pointing at him and taunting him, I think Nate Diaz would have finished Leon Edwards. You look at Kamaru Usman. He's winning. Boom, gets slapped in the 5th round by Leon Edwards. I don't think that's the exact scenario that's going to go down here, but I think Belal Muhammad finishes Leon Edwards in the 5th round. Now, let me explain to you why. I think Leon Edwards has an amazing resume when you just look at the name value, right? And I'm not trying to pick apart his resume here, but I'm trying to explain to you why I'm picking Belal Muhammad here. And I know some people are going to say, you're biased. You like Belal Muhammad. This is the 2nd time in the course of my entire channel I've picked Belal Muhammad. I'm done doubting Belal Muhammad. I'm done doubting him. I'm picking him in this fight. I think he wins the welterweight title. But let's go through Leon Edwards' resume. Colby Covington. Colby Covington came out and shit the bed, didn't even try to fight, didn't even try to put up a fight, and even won the 5th round. And if you look back, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round were the worst rounds for Leon Edwards. Colby Covington was able to get the grappling and get takedowns in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Not that I'm saying he did a lot with it. If that happens against Belal Muhammad, it's not going to be a good night for Leon Edwards. You look at the Kamaru Usman fight, the trilogy fight, which was the 2nd fight for the title. That was a close fight. There was a point deduction. I honestly thought it was a draw. Leon didn't look particularly good. Usman was able to mix in the clinch, mix in the takedowns, but you could see Kamaru Usman was hesitant. He was very hesitant because he was coming off that KO loss. Then the fight where he won the title against Kamaru Usman, he gets the Hail Mary head kick KO, was getting dominated in that fight. I know he had the first round, but he kind of caught Usman off balance with a takedown that he didn't expect and kind of dominated from there. Didn't do a whole lot of damage. Didn't really get close to a submission attempt. Won the first round, but got dominated after that. Finds a Hail Mary 5th round KO. He was tired in that 5th round as well. I think Belal Muhammad's going to come into this fight. He knows this is must win. He knows he's never going to get another opportunity. And Belal Muhammad is super well-rounded. Does he take some shots? Yes. Is Leon Edwards a nice, long, rangy, accurate striker? Yes. But you look at the Colby Covington fight, the output from Leon Edwards was shit, okay? Did he dominate Colby? Yes. Outside the 5th round, he dominated him. But the output was not a lot. Was not a lot at all. Belal Muhammad's going to put the pace on Leon Edwards. He knows this. I've heard him talking about it. He's going to put the pace on him. He's going to mix in the clinch. He's going to mix in the takedowns. He's going to throw combinations. He's going to eat one to land one. And guess what? I don't think Leon Edwards can keep up with Belal Muhammad's pace. I think come the 4th, come the 5th round, I think Belal is still going to be fresh and Leon's going to be huffing and puffing. And he's going to be praying that he finds another Hail Mary KO with a head kick. I think Belal has to avoid getting finished early, walking into a big shot, mainly the head kick from Leon Edwards. He's not shown a really good finishing ability. And I think if he puts a pace on Leon, Leon will fade. We've seen it time and time again. He faded against Colby. There was little pressure there. Colby barely pressured him. Only started shooting for takedowns in the 3rd round. Found a takedown in the 3rd. I believe he found a takedown in the 4th and 5th. Even had some top control in the 5th. If that happens against Belal, Belal will land. Belal will do damage, and Belal will not stop. He will continue to press forward. He will look to bully Leon Edwards. And also, I know people are like, oh, well, he came back in the 5th round. This is not the cloth from which he is cut. I think Leon Edwards does have mental issues in terms of he does start to quit on himself a little bit. Why do you think his corner who knows him better than anyone, don't let him bully you, son. Don't let him. They had to give him a pep talk mid-fight to go out there and fight because they knew he was defeated. You could see the look of defeat on his face. I really think that Belal Muhammad is going to go out there. He might lose the 1st and 2nd round. Leon's going to be using his footwork and being rangy and pumping the jab and landing straight shots. But Belal Muhammad, his striking has improved. He has nasty body kicks, particularly from southpaw. He can fight out of either stance. Now, is he hittable? Yes, he is hittable. But it's not like Leon has brutal KO power with his hands. He mainly, if he finds a KO, it's going to be with a head kick, like he found against Kamaru Usman. I mean, when's the last time he KO'd someone other than Kamaru Usman? It's been a while. He got rocked against Nate Diaz, who's a literal scrub. I love Nate Diaz. He's a scrub, particularly at that point in time. Belal is going to walk him down from start to finish. He might be a little bit tentative early because he wants to avoid making a big mistake. He knows this is his one shot. I know he's 36 years old, but I'm telling you, I've been saying this since, pretty much after the Sean Brady fight. I believe in Belal. I picked against him so many times. He went out there against Gilbert Burns on short notice and had 5-round cardio. He's been off for 14 months preparing for nobody else but Leon Edwards. He knew I'm fighting Leon Edwards, at least we hoped. And now he's getting that opportunity. And also, Leon Edwards, I can already imagine the excuses afterwards. Well, we had a fight at a weird timing. He's been complaining about that. It is unfortunate that it's going to be a weird time in the UK, but I think that's an advantage for Belal Muhammad. So I think Belal is going to go out there, make it very competitive early. And I think as the fight goes on, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, I think Belal really starts putting the pressure on him. And I think eventually in the 5th round, going into that 5th round, we're going to be like, can Leon survive this round? Because Belal really started to come on strong at the end of that 4th, and I think Belal's really going to put the pressure on him, and I think he's going to melt Leon Edwards. Eventually, Leon's going to go down. Belal's going to follow him to the ground, land some brutal ground and pound shots, and I think Belal finishes him in the 5th round. I just think Belal has a crazy cardio advantage. Coming off the couch injured against Gilbert Burns, went 5 rounds. Injured. Gilbert Burns had a full camp just before that. He took it on short notice too, but he was in shape. He had just fought. You could say that's a disadvantage. Belal went out there and had the cardio advantage. Belal has nasty kicks from southpaw and orthodox. Good head kicks as well. His striking, his hands need some improvement, but Leon Edwards is a low output guy. And I know he was super aggressive in the first fight against Belal Muhammad. But I think in that fight, he really thought, oh, Belal can't compete with me. I'm going to go out there, destroy Belal, and get him out of there early. And he didn't. And the first round was more competitive than people make it out to be. And then the second round, he eye poked him. And he poked him in the first round as well. I think that fight, there's really no relevance to even looking at it anyway. Even though you break it down, oh, it doesn't really matter because it's one round. How many fights can you go, oh, well, based off one round, this guy would have won? You could say that so many times where we know the reality and the opposite guy won. So I think 1st and 2nd round, very competitive. I think as the fight goes on, Belal Muhammad's going to build. He's been training nonstop. I think he's going to mix in the grappling. We've seen Leon Edwards taken down in all of his last few fights. Every single one of them. Now, has he been training nonstop to fight Kamaru Usman, who has a great pace and great takedowns, against Colby Covington, who was known for his great pace and takedowns? Yes. But I think Belal Muhammad has better striking than Usman and Covington. Now, he doesn't have the power of an Usman, but I also think Belal, we know he's not going to go out there and shit the bed and not put on a pace. He'll get KO'd before he sits back and just doesn't fight and then cries robbery afterwards. He would rather get KO'd than do that. This is his one opportunity. And also, I think Leon Edwards is going to go in this overconfident. I think he's going to go into this fight. Everyone's acting like, oh, this is an easy win for Leon Edwards. His corner probably thinks it's an easy win. Oh, Belal, you just got to stuff some takedowns. You'll easily outstrike him on the feet. And regardless if he wants to say that creeps into his mind, I think it's going to creep into his mind. He's going to be super confident coming into this fight. And I think Belal's going to go out there, put the pace on him, wear him down, maybe lose the first, second round, third, fourth, and fifth round. I think Belal Muhammad wins. I could see him winning a decision. But I think come the fifth round, I think Belal's momentum is really going to be growing. I think it's going to be a snowball downhill. And I think Belal Muhammad in that fifth round goes out there and he knows, look, I don't want to trust the judges at all to get this right. Maybe the third round was close. And maybe Leon won the first 2 rounds. I don't want to leave it to the judges. I don't want to risk getting robbed in, England where Leon's from. I'm going to go out there and finish him. I'm picking Belal Muhammad via 5th round TKO. The weird 5th round streak in the welterweight division continues. I'm picking Belal Muhammad 5th round TKO over Leon Edwards at UFC 304. Let me know what you guys think of my predictions down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait for UFC 304. I will see you guys in the next video.